I look forward to the next 12 months. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Well, 2015 is coming to an end. Thank God!
Oh, fuck this year. Fuck this year so hard.
2017 just didn't justify its own existence. 2018, you can burn in the fires of hell. 2019. It was fine. So, yeah, I guess to sum up 2020, world sucked, but my life was fine. So, overall, how was 2021? It was okay. 2022 was good-ish. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to describe it. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't quite good. It was good-ish. It certainly wasn't perfect. Me personally, I had to deal with the worst road trips I've ever been on, some very bad working conditions thanks to a very good air conditioner, and a lot of crap with YouTube's copyright system. I'm sure you'll see that My Scene Goes Hollywood review on YouTube again one day. Probably about the same time you see the Wanted review on YouTube. But those were very minor things. However, since I know some people won't take me seriously unless I talk about all the bad stuff that happened, especially worldwide, I guess we'll do that. So here we go. The top 5 worst things that happened in 2022. Note here, I am only including things that are unique to this year. So no including of mass shootings. As bad as the ones in Buffalo and the Colorado gay nightclub shooting and especially the Uvalde shooting were, that's just part of American life now. Also, no celebrity deaths. Again, that's just going to happen, and as much as some of them hurt, it is not the fault of the year. Anyway, here we go. The top 5 worst things that happened in 2022. Number 5. Foot pain. This is actually the only thing that happened in my personal life. Starting in March, I have just had horrible pain in my feet like every month and a half to 2 months. This happened a couple years ago when I first started the at-home workouts at the beginning of the pandemic, and I attributed them to lunges, and when I stopped doing lunges, they stopped. But this year, they just came back with full force. Sometimes it'd be the right foot, sometimes it'd be the left foot, sometimes it would be both, and I couldn't attribute it to the exercises because sometimes I would do no exercises and they'd still hurt. One time it got so bad that I woke up crying and thought I would have to go to the hospital. But I eventually found the culprit, and what was it? My shoes. Yes, I had these pair of Nike shoes that I started wearing at the beginning of the year, and, well, eventually I stopped, got some new ones and some of those sole gel things. Haven't really had any problems since. So yeah, if car problems were the big thing from last year, foot problems were the one from this one. Number 4, monkeypox. Yes, just as we were finally getting a handle on that little pandemic that started a few years ago, we got news of a new disease spreading, mostly amongst bi and gay men. But let's be honest, the disease itself wasn't really what was so horrible. It's mostly survivable and much less contagious than COVID. The problem? It showed we had learned nothing. We already had vaccines for this. Say what you will about COVID, but we were blindsided by that. This should have been very easy to defeat. But through horrible planning and execution, we lost a lot of time in vaccines. And again, thankfully the death count has been extremely low, but the fact that no one should have died, given this should have been over within a couple months, proves that a lot of countries, but especially America, the richest country on earth, didn't learn shit from COVID. Oh, and speaking of COVID, can we make sure that the next generation-defining tragedy is not way, way worse than the last one? But thankfully, with monkeypox, we managed to look out, with infections at an all-time low, and hopefully this will just go away forever. Number 3. Inflation. Yes, in case you didn't notice, things seem to be a lot more expensive this year. Food, gas, electricity, especially electricity, like, holy shit, my bill during the summer months was like $30 more than usual. But yeah, everything was just a lot more expensive in 2022. It was pretty much this year's COVID. It began early this year and just has always been there. Sometimes getting better, sometimes getting worse, but always around. But hey, one good thing, at least this time the US didn't get it the worst. And hopefully we won't go into a recession, and within the next few months this will finally go away. And whether you want to blame Biden or Trump or whatever, I think we all know one person who's responsible. Number 2. Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Good job, Vladdy. You did the absolute stupidest invasion in recent memory, and I say this as an American. So because Putin couldn't get over the breakup of the Soviet Union 30 years ago, he decided to just do a full-scale invasion of the Ukraine to try and bring it back together. The result has been very bad for pretty much everyone, with thousands of lives lost, people being forced to flee their homes, families torn apart, but it hasn't even worked out well for him. Ukraine is mostly kicking their asses despite having 100 million less people. His citizens aren't happy. Obviously, this isn't going to make Ukrainians want to rejoin the Union. Pretty much every other country on Earth thinks he's in the wrong, and even his other oligarchs that fund him aren't happy. This was an invasion that happened solely because of his ego, and if we survive this, which I think we will, this will likely spell the end of Putin's reign. But of course, the worst thing to happen in 2022, number 1. Roe v. Wade. Yes, something I thought wouldn't happen has happened. Back in June, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade after almost 50 years in what I can only assume was an attempt to kill the red wave that was supposed to happen in the midterms, which they succeeded at. And in the ensuing months, America's dumbest states have been taking away people's right to choose. And while there have been small victories like Kansas voting to keep voting rights protected and several ballot initiatives in the midterms, it's been a disaster. And that is because our government is broken. Our legislative branch can't get anything done. The executive branch has both too much power and not enough. And now we have to rely on our judicial branch, 9 unelected people, to decide our laws. That's not democracy, that's an oligarchy. And while I can't really put a positive spin on this, just remember that while progress has many setbacks, it always wins in the end. So there we go, 5 bad things, and sure, there were some other not very good things, from natural disasters to whatever the hell is happening with Twitter, but there have been plenty of good things that happened. NASA launched a satellite into an asteroid, sending it off course, so if we're ever in danger of an asteroid hitting us, we have a backup plan, so suck it, Adam McKay. We've made some progress in the cure for HIV. Several states legalized marijuana and solidified abortion rights. We've made some progress in the fight against climate change. Some endangered species are getting better. Democrats and Republicans actually work together to do some stuff about gun violence and gay marriage. We're even expanding on good things from previous years, like Native Americans getting more of their land back, and mental health professionals being used instead of just sending police officers. Yes, true, these may not be huge headline-worthy things in the same way bad news is, but it is important to realize that progress is possible and is happening, no matter how slow, because that's kind of how progress works. It's usually pretty slow. And for the most part, my life has been pretty good. I went on a nice vacation to Florida, I went to my cousin's wedding, I hung out with friends and family or just by myself, I binged a bunch of stuff, and while I didn't make as many videos as I usually do, the ones I did, I'm really proud of. And also just people didn't seem as sad. Like, despite Putin and Roe, I didn't hear many people condemning the year in the same way they did for 2020 and 2016. And like I said last year, that really makes up for a lot. But what about my 3 New Year's resolutions? Did I complete any of them? Well, let's start with the mechanic stuff. I said I wanted less than 3 emergency trips to the mechanic, and I got it. There was 1 emergency trip because of a tire, 1 small one that turned out to be nothing, and I did have some repairs during my state inspections, but that's not an emergency, that doesn't count. I went into detail in that 3rd car vlog I did, but to cut a long story short, basically, my car did cooperate this year. Next up, get a new job. This has pretty much been on my New Year's resolution list since 2019, and yeah, it didn't happen. However, this is the first year pretty much since I started where the job was not as bad as last year. It had its problems, but at least I got a raise and we weren't hacked. And finally, lose 4 inches. I'm not sure if that happened since I haven't checked since July. Yeah, like last year, I kind of gave up on the weigh-ins halfway through because A lot of pet stuff happened. The foot pain, trying to get to the gym. I eventually just said, fuck it, we'll start anew next year. Also, I spent most of this year working on weightlifting rather than actually trying to lose weight. And I was doing pretty well, but in the last couple months I kind of gave up on that and have gone back full time to cardio. And I'll probably stick with that until after my birthday in March. I'm convinced I have like a six-pack and I'm like super swole underneath all this fat. I just have to get rid of it because I've done so many squats, leg lifts, and crunches. Like, I'm convinced I am like ripped. I just have to get rid of the fat. I will do my weigh-in on the 31st, and next year we're going by a month-to-month basis again. Because hey, I did that in 2020 and that's when I lost the most amount of weight, so let's give it a shot. Alright, cut the shit. I totally forgot about you. Yeah, cause last year I was stuck in your fucking brain. Okay, what shit am I supposed to cut? There's something bothering you. Not Roe, not Putin, not your foot. Something that's been bothering you for years. It's money. I knew it. What exactly do and don't you know? You kinda go back and forth on that. I don't know, it's your brain. Well, yeah, I have had some serious money problems, and it's all thanks to student loans, and we were so close to getting $10,000 forgiven. It could still happen. I know it can, but I'm not too optimistic about that. Bastard! I know. I have $11,500 left. If we had gotten that, I'd be almost done. Well, even if it doesn't, the freeze is still in place, and you can have it paid off by the end of next year. I'm just tired of it. I want my life back, okay? I was sitting at $0 in my bank account just a month ago because I wasn't paying attention to how much I was spending. And whose fault is that? It's mine, but it still sucks. I mean, I just want my student loans gone, but I'm gonna have to, save up a lot and not spend any money for, all the way through summer. Well, hey, that could help you with the diet. I mean, I also would like you to lose some weight, and, hey, if you don't spend money on big purchases, you can have it paid off by the end of summer. Yeah, but what if something goes wrong? It could, but it couldn't. Well, you know what they say. Hope for the best, expect the worst. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. Yeah. So, 2022 certainly had its problems, but it was an improvement over last year and easily the best year since 2014. I wish I had done better on my diet since the beginning. I certainly wish I had gotten new shoes earlier than I did. And I wish I didn't spend as much money on DoorDash and Amazon, but those are just lessons to take into next year. Just a warning, to save money, I probably won't make as many videos next year. My editing computer is seriously on its last legs, and sometimes it won't even shut down right, and since I'm going to be holding off on big purchases to pay off those loans as soon as possible, the reviews might fall by the wayside. So Happy New Year, everyone, and let's hope 2023 is the first year in a long time that I can unquestionably say was good.
Didn't ruin my life.